Tonight on Chronicle, it's a rare look at New Hampshire Supreme Court through the eyes of the man who knows it best. What is it about this room that you love?
You know what I love about this room? It seems to me timeless.
One-on-one with Chief Justice John Broderick.
Every time I sit on the bench, I realize I'm part of a larger continuum. Just my time, and it'll pass to someone else. But it's a privilege to do it, and without courts, America would be a different place.
He builds what you can only imagine.
It all starts with wanting to do it. I've never had any art school or anything. If I see something I want to do, I just do it.
From carousel horses to calliopes, meet a master tinkerer. Plus, Fritz Weatherby's New Hampshire.
In 1905, Susie Babcock wandered away from her home here in Melford, and a search was instigated. I'll tell you the story on the Hampshire Chronicle.
That's next on Chronicle.
To a typical kid, the only thing cooler than a fire truck is somebody who drives one.
Sure, firefighters maneuver through the streets at high speeds and climb ladders to dizzying heights, but before they get to hit the siren, they have to come here.
That's right, these lanes usually are reserved for the likes of Jeff Gordon and Denny Hamlin at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, but they're also used by the New Hampshire Fire Academy to teach firefighters in training how to drive a fire truck.
You know, and it must be amazing to go from behind the wheel of an ordinary car to behind the wheel of one of these, because they weigh about 15 tons.
No doubt, absolutely amazing.
You know, something else that's amazing is how our government works.
That's right, the three branches are endowed with equally important powers and responsibilities. And while we're accustomed to seeing lawmakers talk about what they do, members of the judiciary are rarely seen in the media.
I had a rare opportunity to sit down with New Hampshire's Chief Justice, John Broderick, and was treated to a tour of the Supreme Court as seen through his eyes, as well as some candid thoughts. New Hampshire Supreme Court Chief Justice John Broderick has nearly 40 years of legal experience.
It's a very unusual authority to have over people's lives, because what we decide governs conduct.
Sworn in as chief in 2004, Justice Broderick is passionate about the law and the proud history of the New Hampshire Supreme Court. He gave us a rare look at the court as seen through his eyes.
It's quite awe-inspiring. I've been a lawyer for most of my life and a judge for 12 now. And every time I sit on the bench, I realize I'm part of a larger continuum. Just my time, and it'll pass to someone else. But it's a privilege to do it, and without courts, America would be a different place.
The red brick building faced with New Hampshire granite was named for Frank Roe Kennison, who served as Chief Justice for 25 years. Modeled in the colonial Williamsburg style, the building houses the chambers of the members of the Supreme Court, staff offices, the clerk's office, the state law library, and the courtroom, where the justices hear oral arguments. It was built in 1971 and is an elegant structure that Justice Broderick clearly appreciates, especially the courtroom. What is it about this room that you love?
You know what I love about this room? It seems to me timeless, and it seems to me colonial, and it seems to be New England. And it's also, even though sometimes stressful for the lawyers, I know, rather comfortable and not foreboding. And in the wintertime, we have a fireplace over here, which is functional and operating. And I don't know if there are too many Supreme Courts in the country that have an operating fireplace.
One of the surprises along the tour, the humility of the chief.
I'm just passing through town. It's a privilege to be here, but they didn't build this place for me.
The first time you ever walked through, the doors opened, you came out as Chief Justice, there's people before you. I mean, what were you thinking?
I hope I get this right. The job has never felt comfortable to me. Yeah. It never really fits, and I tend not to think about it much, to be very honest about it, because whatever I think the Chief Justice should be, I always think it's more than I can provide, so I tend not to think of myself in those terms.
Visiting the Supreme Court is part of New Hampshire's 4th grade curriculum. an opportunity for the court to demystify the judicial process.
I think many people do not understand the role of the courts. I'm not being critical, I'm just being factual. I saw a study recently, and half the American people could not name the 3 branches of government. And if you're in the weakest branch, which we are, we can't print money and we don't have armies, that's not good news. That's not good news, because people are not likely to be receptive of your decision-making process if they don't understand it.
Broderick says there are many misconceptions about the court, and that is something that he would like to change.
The best way to learn about the process is come here. I mean, the most fundamental thing in this country, and the reason America stands on its own stage, is we value people's rights, popular or unpopular. And as I say when we have school children here, there are very few rooms in America like courtrooms. Because when you think about it, the function of a courtroom is to do the right thing for the right reason 24/7. Because that's what the American Constitution requires.
A recent visit with a local high school brought home the need for a broader civics education.
So near the end, I was asking them questions, and I said, does anyone here know the name of the judge from our state who's on the United States Supreme Court? And the look on their faces was, don't call on me. And it was about 8 seconds of awkward silence, and one young man raised his hand, you know, and he said, David Souter. And I was relieved.
And what room is this?
This is the judge's conference room.
The judge's conference room is where the justices discuss cases for the first time after oral arguments are presented. The court hopes to dedicate the room to Justice Souter.
And so I'm hopeful when we dedicate this room to Justice Souter and put his name here, that will also be an opportunity to educate those kids as to who Justice Souter is if they don't know, and why they should care, and what he does and why he's important in the history not only of the state but of the United States. It's a very rare privilege to have someone from your state and someone from your court serve on the United States Supreme Court.
Justice Broderick wants to be able to infuse young people with some basic and fundamental knowledge of the judicial system, why it matters, and the reason the courts are independent, in order to safeguard the rights of citizens.
New Hampshire is blessed, by the way, because we do not elect judges here. New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island are the only states in America that follow the federal model of lifetime appointments. Again, not because we're special, but the nature of the job is enhanced if I'm not accountable every 2 years on a ballot. Because if I were, I might only be here 2 years. Or I might not make the decisions I should make because I don't want my life to be interrupted.
So how does a man who now sits on the bench view lawyers?
When people criticize lawyers, of course I was one for years, so I'm pretty self-interested when you think about it. We don't decide what cases will come here. We don't write the briefs. We don't make the arguments. Lawyers help advance people's rights, sometimes in unpopular ways, but nonetheless, without lawyers, the law would stop moving.
Even though he served on the Supreme Court for 12 years,
I never feel comfortable in my office. I never feel comfortable on the bench. And I can genuinely tell you, every time we come out on the bench and the bailiff says, all rise in the Hampshire Supreme Court, I hope I'm good enough to get the right answer. It's a reminder to me every time how important it is.